Oh, I got a proverbial bone to pick with Major League Baseball, and at the risk of sounding like a homer, which everybody knows I am not, because I don't care necessarily who wins or loses. However, this is what's wrong with Major League Baseball. They don't make sure they get the best stars in the All-Star game.
There's only one thing wrong with Major League Baseball?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot, okay? But we'll solve one problem tonight. Okay, so congratulations to Brandon Lowe and Jonathan Aranda. Well-deserved selections to the AL All-Star team. I mean, both those guys lead almost every offensive category at their position, right? So it was hard to say that it was hard for the American League to keep them off the field. I mean, quite frankly, now Bilal may not be there because he had a slight, I guess, hurt his side swinging the bat and had to come out of the game. Although I guess he and others think that he's going to be okay. They still have, I think, 7 games to play before the All-Star break. I think we're
yes, that's correct.
Yep.
Yep. They're in Detroit, and then where do they wrap up this weekend? I can't even remember off the top of my head.
Still on the road, wherever it is. Yeah, I don't know either. It's a good question.
Boston, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think you're right. I think it is the Red Sox. And the AL East is interesting because you have, at least the last time I checked, and I haven't checked this evening as we do this podcast, but the Toronto Blue Jays were in first place. The last I saw, both the Yankees and the Rays were 3 games back, but I don't know if that's still the case or not.
That is correct. So the Blue Jays lead the division. Rays and Yankees 3 back. Red Sox 6.5 back. All 4 of those teams.
It's incredible. Yeah, just incredible tightening of the race there, and who knows who's going to come out on top. It's going to be a crazy finish. But the Rays, had not a great weekend. I mean, quite frankly, they got walked off 2 nights in a row. They blew leads. The bullpen, what has happened, Steve Versnick, to this shutdown bullpen all of a sudden that can't get outs when they need them?
It's leaking, and it's leaking pretty bad right now. And it's Mason Montgomery, it's Kevin Kelly, it's Useda,
Pete Fairbanks a little bit.
They've hit a skid. And they've been so good all year as a group.
Mm-hmm.
But they've hit a rough patch. I think the All-Star break couldn't happen soon enough for that group, to be honest.
Right.
But I also think there may be some of their pitchers are starting to go a little less. Drew Rasmussen they took out after 2 innings again today, after he only went 3 innings the game before.
Right. They're trying to save his innings a little bit. Yeah.
So Joe Boyle came up and looked good.
Oh, man.
So
can I just say, if I got a guy down there, listen, you only have 25 players, right? And so it's hard to know when and what to do. And you have so many options with these guys. But I mean, if I got a guy like Joe Boyle, who is dominating AAA, AAA, that comes up and throws 101, are you kidding me? And not just that, but I mean, his stuff will play in any ballpark in anywhere in the world. And it's hard to keep a guy like that off your big league club, especially could you find a role for him in this struggling bullpen of theirs? And he came in, to his point, he came in through 3 innings. I want to say the other day.
Through 5, I think. It was 5 innings.
Was it that many? 5? Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, valuable role for him doing that to help save some of their arms. But, man, it's tough to send a guy like that back down, especially where the bullpen is. Yeah, but it's just – it's funny
because had outings by Boz and Bradley and Rasmussen all going shorter now, and the bullpen's being relied on more.
They are, yeah.
And it's exposed some, just some. Like I said, they're going through a bad stretch. Has Mason Montgomery been good for the most part this year? Yes. Uceda's kind of been up and down. He's had his moments.
Mm-hmm.
But as a whole, the bullpen's been really good. It's been a bad week.
Yeah.
And almost got walked off 3 straight games.
That's true, yeah.
Which would have been the first time in franchise history.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, that did not happen.
Yeah, Twins came back, tied it up, went into extras, and the Rays got 3 in the 10th, I want to say.
But Brian Anderson broke down that at-bat by Bader perfectly. I don't know if you were watching the game at that part. When they tied it.
I missed Bader's at-bat. Yeah.
So everything's been going into Bader. So Mason Montgomery's first 2 pitches way in, second one even further in.
Mm-hmm.
So he's now looking in, and the third one goes in, but it's right over the heart of the plate.
Yeah.
And Bader crushes it over the left field wall. A mistake the pitch was a mistake, but also the selection.
The location, and the selection.
But the selection was you've got him looking in. You just threw
Right.
2 way inside. What do you do? Do something
Yeah.
different. Like, he knows what you're throwing.
Right.
I just thought it was an error on the Rays' part, and it tied the game and almost cost them. They ended up, scoring 3 in the 10th and winning the game. So
Say this for the Twins, though. They've had a year where they've come back on everybody. Like, they've had 25 plus 27 victories. They've come from behind this year.
Yep.
So they just have that kind of club where they're never really out of it, and that's a credit to them. But yeah, it was a tough weekend. They were very fortunate to get 1 game out of Minnesota, and then they still got 7 more before the All-Star break. You don't want to lose too much ground in the AL East. I don't know how good Toronto is, but they're good enough to be in first place with 3-game lead over the Yankees, who haven't been playing well either.
They're on a roll. They're on a roll right now. They've won 7 or 8 in a row, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's their turn. The way it was with the Rays a little while ago.
Exactly. And so they're making their move. They're 3 games up on both the Rays and the Yankees.
Yeah. But long way to go. I mean, we're not to the All-Star break. We're more than halfway through the season as the number of games go. And the problem is that they got to stay on the road. They got 7 more games before they get to the break. And, for those guys that aren't going to get a break, that's going to be tough too. So let's go back to the All-Star game, because this is what's wrong. There's a lot wrong with baseball, as we mentioned, but I just don't see why there's not the better angels of the sport, right? I know they want the fans to have a voice. Good for you. It's the fans' game. Okay, I get it. And on those occasions where, Derek Jeter's in his final year or Cal Ripken is not particularly having a great season, okay, let's give it to the old guys or whatever. But by the same token, it's like, why don't you want your young stars to be, part of this game? And that, when we're talking about here, and we both agree, Junior Caminero, man, there's no way this kid should not be at the All-Star game. I mean, what he has done at third base, if you compare him to the other third basemans, is incredible. And
not with Jazz Chisholm beating him out.
Jazz Chisholm. Who's a little bit of an attitude for the Yankees. Booney loves him. I remember he was kind of a story when the Yankees played here, and I covered a couple games. But not a spectacular player. Was he batting 245?
Yeah, 245. He's got 16 home runs, 10 stolen bases. He's having a good year. It's good. Alex Bregman, 11 home runs, 35 RBIs, just because he got off to a hot start.
Yeah.
Heck, he's missed 30 games.
Yeah.
What are we
doing? He missed 30 games.
What are we doing?
He made the All-Star team. Shouldn't there be a minimum?
Yeah, I mean, Acuna Jr. is kind of the same way. Now, he was voted in by the fans, but also a lot of that one because the game's in Atlanta, so you'd like to see hometown guys.
I'm okay with
play
certain things. You got a home team, okay, nod to Atlanta, nod to Acuna Jr., who's still one of the best talents in baseball. I'm not saying he's not.
No question.
And
he's having a good year, but he's missed half the season. He's played 39 games.
Right. But you've got to find a way to get your young studs, your young stars, and not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure that, if Caminero was in this thing, he'd have done the home run derby, and that would have been a show. That
Absolutely.
would have been the show, Some of the older players probably not as geeked up about it, might ruin their swing, yada, yada. A guy like Caminero is going to come in there, and he does it in batting practice every day. So, I think they missed an opportunity there. And I don't know that there'll be any reasons other than maybe somebody going on the DL or some other thing that happens that he might still make it. But, man, oh, man.
I just just look at the stats, look at the season, the third base, Caminero, Bregman, Chisholm. Which one's had the better season?
Caminero.
It's Caminero, period. Done. Over. Not even a question.
Right.
You can't look at it and say one of those players was better.
No, not with RBIs, not with home runs. I mean, and
it's a shame. And he may still get in. I mean, someone may go on the IL and they may add him.
Yeah.
But he should have been picked.
I mean, there is a nod to the bigger markets, and if you're going to use fan voting, that's always going to be the case, right? But no,
but these were the backups, not the fan vote. These were the backups.
These are the backups. That's right. So if I'm going to go around and I'm going to say to you, okay, who are the bright young stars of baseball? How long before I get to Chisholm, right? I mean, come on, man. It just doesn't make sense. So
It doesn't. But congratulate. Of course, Caminero turned 22 over the
22.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan Lowe makes the All-Star game for the second time on his 31st birthday on Sunday.
Yeah, kind of late for him. Did he make
really
it
cool.
as a rookie? Did I hear that right? I think
there's
been a big.
When he made it. He might have.
There's been a big gap between him going now and when he went before. In fact, so long that some people thought it was his first All-Star game. And he is looking forward to going. Hopefully he can. Look, no one's been much hotter than Brandon Lowe, the hitting streak that he's put on. And, big hits too, big moments, big RBIs, home runs. He's having a great year. And the thing that's always stopped him has been injuries, right? Like this always seems to be. It's like if you could get him to play 130 games, he'd probably hit you 40. And, so he's been to this point, he's been pretty healthy. Let's hope that this, for his sake, at least, it's not anything that's going to keep him out extended period. Although we did finally get to see Hassan Kim.
Yes.
For about 6 innings.
Yes.
7 innings.
The long-awaited debut. And we're still waiting for game 2.
God.
Felt a tweak. They think it's a cramp.
Calf muscle.
Yeah.
Didn't
ran
feel
at 80% on Sunday. Everything was good. We'll see if he plays in Detroit tonight.
Yeah. Oh, boy. He came out and he I think his first at bat he struck out. He had a ball, kind of a soft bouncer that I thought he kicked. They gave the guy a base hit, which was generous. And then he did hit one about 110 miles an hour off the bat for a base hit. But look, he's going to help him if in the big if he can stay healthy, right? Mm-hmm. And he talked about the frustration of not being there for his team, and the anticipation I think was that he would have come back sometime in May, right? Beginning of June at the latest, right? And then he had setbacks, and the funny thing is that it's his option. Right, like he gets to decide with this deal. He makes damn near $15 million a year, I think. So, not a lot of runway here for him to choose whether. But I think he has to be appreciative of the Rays' patience, them wanting him to do well, and not for nothing. Like Taylor Walls is not hurting him right now, right? Not with the
big
glove,
home run on Sunday.
He had a huge home run. So, it's hard to take that guy out. Like he made this play the other night where he just climbed the ladder on a line drive. And I think they had some stat, and I'm not into these, all these metrics and things, but like runs prevented or whatever sort of statistic they use. I guess Walls is like
defensive runs saved, I think it
is. Yes, has more runs saved than most major league clubs, I think, by himself. And you see that every day. Like he will make a play. There's not many guys you pay to say, I'm going to go watch this guy play shortstop, but he's one of them. He's that good. Like he's that good.
Rays fans were spoiled for a decade plus of Kevin Kiermaier in center field.
Oh, yeah.
Making I still say he's the second best defensive center fielder I've ever seen play.
Ever? Okay. Who would be the first?
Andrew Jones.
Yeah, that's fair.
Those two, and I've seen them in person and watched.
Yeah, you watched them play a lot.
I watched them more than a game or two. Like, I mean, I've seen them play.
Yeah. Andrew was great.
Taylor Walls may be the best defensive infielder in a long time. I don't. I mean, you go back to like the Ozzie Smiths and the.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's some guys like that, but I mean, lately, like just the plays he made and how easy he makes it look.
Yeah.
Like I know he struggles at the plate and sometimes it's hard to watch, although it's gotten a lot better this season.
He's been much better of late. Yeah.
Kudos to him. But defensively, oh my goodness, is he good?
Yeah. No, he bails them out a lot. I mean, he just makes a ton of plays and smooth out there. And if you watch him, I've watched him take infield a few times. It's just, it's incredible how good he is. And on the double plays, like throwing the ball, like it's one thing, like when you cover second base on a double play, it's so important that relay throw is in the right area that takes you to first base, because if you're retreating or the ball's low or if it's, they had one the other day where Lowe had trouble getting it out of his glove, but that was not on Walls. Walls gave him a perfect feed and Lowe just couldn't grip the ball and they didn't double him up. But, watching those guys, and I can't I can't tell you how hard the things they do make it look so easy. Like that's the proof of such a great player is somebody that what they're doing is incredibly hard, and they just make it look effortless, and that's Taylor Walls. So if Kim can't come back, they're okay for now, but you sure would like to see what he could do in that lineup because it's a pretty good lineup. Now they haven't been necessarily coming up with a lot of runs, but they like I said, they got walked off. They had, a couple, solid leads that the bullpen just gave up, and
they're scoring 4 to 5 a game with this pitching staff. That should
be enough. Yeah,
like you don't have to hit 8 every game.
No, it should be enough. And they had 4-run leads, 2-run leads, and didn't seem to matter that the Twins are going to come back. So,
and one more All-Star too, Jonathan Aranda, so well deserved.
Oh God, yeah.
And what was impressive is he won the player vote.
Yes, he did, and
so while he
substantially.
finished third in the fan vote behind Guerrero and Goldschmidt, he won the player vote substantially over Vlad Jr.
Yeah.
Which I love seeing that the players recognize how good he's been this year.
Yes, they do, and Vlad, Vlad does, is an all-star, and I'm okay with that.
He's had a good season. He's a great player.
Not sure about Goldschmidt. I think that's a Yankee thing again. The voting and stuff, but yeah, no, the players recognize because in Aranda's done it.
Goldschmidt didn't make it. He didn't make it. He finished second in the playoffs.
Oh, he was second. Okay. Well, listen, Aranda's done it from the first game. Like if you were to say who's been the best hitter on this team, and there's a lot of candidates, right? It's got to be Jonathan Aranda because from day one until now, he hasn't had many bad games, let alone bad weeks or a bad month. He just hasn't. He's the most consistent guy, and he can do it against lefties. He can do it against righties. He hits to all fields. He hits with power. He drives in runs.
You can't be fifth in baseball in batting average and have bad weeks.
No.
He's batting .320 for the year.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't had...
Third best in the American League, fifth best in baseball.
Right. But, I mean, typically, like, everybody's going to have a 2 for 15, right? Like, you know what I mean? A 3 for 20. Like, it's just going to happen. And it might be because you hit some balls hard, but just right at people, if nothing else. Aranda has avoided that. It's been incredible how consistent he is.
Yep. He's also third in baseball and on-base percentage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He'll take his walks.
Yeah.
He'll take his walks. He has a good eye up there, and he gets on himself if he swings at bad pitches, which is rare.
398 on-base percentage.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
4 out of every 10 times he's getting on base.
Look, the story for the Rays this year has been their offense, and I think their starting pitching. They've rode those two things. Obviously, they play great defense. We talked about Walls.
Yep.
The outfield it's amazing when you think about how the year started. Of course, now they got Josh Lowe back, and he's been playing well, hitting well. But nobody saw Jake Mangum, doing what he's doing, batting over 300. And then Chandler Simpson in center field, he wasn't up when the season started. So, 2 of your 3 outfielders that are really doing stuff for you. And Simpson, other than striking out, I think the first at bat when he got back to the majors, I don't know that he's struck out again since he's been here.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
Yeah. So, all those things. I mean, could you say arguably, okay, 1 through 9, because you'll even get some production from the bottom of this order. But if you add Kim to it, okay, remove Walls from an offensive standpoint, I mean, this is you have reason to believe, at least if they get into the postseason, this team can score runs with anybody. I mean, you do have confidence because they have one of the deeper lineups I think that the Rays have had in many, many years. It just seems that way.
I was going to say, is this the thickest lineup you remember them having?
I mean, going back to the Longoria, Pena, Upton, Jason Bartlett. I don't know who else they had.
Right.
In those
but I'm just saying top to bottom.
Yeah, it'd be hard to find. Hard to find many. I mean, just the numbers alone would tell you that, right? The number of guys batting, close to 300 or with 45, 50 RBIs with 10 to 20 home runs at this point. It's quite an offensive show.
Aranda, Mangum, Simpson are over 300.
Yeah, you haven't seen that.
Yandy's at 289. Theis only 16 games with 277. Brendan Lau's at 2. Danny Jansen's at 206.
Right.
But I'm okay with the catcher.
Well, he's got 9 home runs.
Like, yeah,
and he's
exactly.
driven in almost 40, like 35, 40 runs.
Yeah.
So I'm
Taylor
okay
Walls
with that.
is better, but he's only batting .208 this season. He's still not great, but
I think that's because of the start he had. I mean, he was just.
Well, I think it's a start, but I also think he's been better in clutch moments.
Yes, he has.
He's had some bigger hits than, there's already 2 outs in the 7th and you're up 5-1 and you roll one over. Like, who cares?
He's also delivered some sack flies and some,
Yep.
game walk off. He had at least one walk off, I recall. So yeah, he's done a decent job given what you're getting on the defensive side. So yeah, I mean, top to bottom, 1 through 9, and you get the pitching staff. The starters look good. They bring up Boyle. He looked good. It's going to come down to, and they're trying to save innings, and I get that, especially, when you have a guy with 3 elbow surgeries. But I do wonder is that it's not just one pitcher that's going deep into games, right? Like their starters are at or near the top of the American League, I'm sure, for innings pitched. When does that catch up to them? Like, does that become a thing later in the season? Now, if you get a Shane McClanahan back, right, somebody's going to have to sit down at some point, or just history tells us that it's rare for, to have 4 or 5 starters go through their rotation 30 times in a season without missing a start. But
so their starters have the 3rd most innings in baseball.
Is it 3rd now? Okay, they were 2nd.
They're behind the Phillies by 4 1/3. They're behind the Royals by 5 1/3, but the Royals have played one more game.
Yeah, so that's nothing.
So
you're
basically,
a virtual tie.
Basically the same. Yeah, you're basically the same.
Yeah. So you just, that's going to be something to watch, right? Because they're really stretching these guys out.
Right. And while they're doing that, they're the 10th best ERA among starters with the 3rd most innings.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Mm-hmm.
But, maybe we're starting to see that now. They're limiting Rasmussen a little bit. We've seen Taj Bradley get some shorter outings because he's been struggling. He struggled a little bit Saturday as well.
Well, he came just maybe 1 inch on a bat away from being down 5-0. Instead, a grand slam was caught on the track.
Although he battled and hung in.
He did.
But he kept getting himself into jams.
Yeah, he's pitched a little bit better of late.
Mm-hmm.
Although there's hope that he'll turn the corner. He did this kind of last year where he was just dominate early in the season, and then he hit kind of a skid at the end. But all in all, the stuff is there. You just got to keep him on track. But no, it's a good ball club, and I think you don't want to fall. You don't want to let a Toronto team get too far ahead of you. Or a Yankee team that's tied or in front of you, like now the Red Sox are going to come. So it'll come down to the wire, and you may have multiple teams from the AL East in the playoffs. That's likely the way it'll go if they all continue to play good baseball, unless they beat each other up, and then the records won't be as good. But it's been a good first half. Look, they still got 7 games. They got to finish this road trip. They're 1-2 so far with the 2 walk-offs in Kansas City.
How about this? They get the Tigers this week. They missed Tarek Skubal again, so they will not face him in the regular season this year.
That's a great miss, right?
It is.
That dude's ridiculous.
And normally the Rays, in years past, it was like you're guaranteed to get those aces every time.
Oh, every time. Yeah,
like
of course.
For them to miss Skubal both times is.
Yeah, no, that's a gift.
Mm-hmm.
That's a gift. They handled Detroit the last time they played them. We'll see. We'll see what they do. Want you guys to get on down to Breitling Boutique if you get a chance. International Plaza Mall, you know where that is. Well, Breitling Boutique is located in the center of that mall. On the 2nd floor, you go in there, you're going to immediately encounter some of the best customer service. The Breitling Company's been in business now for over 140 years. They've been making the best Swiss watches you can imagine. They have men's watches, the Chronomats, the Navatimers, women's watches as well for your wife, your girlfriend. These are sports watches. They are durable. If your wife or girlfriend's on the go like mine, she's likely to wear these quite a bit. But they will hold up and they look beautiful. Also, all different colored wristbands for her to choose from. And the Breitling Company has been producing special edition NFL watches, 32 NFL teams, 32 different team watches, celebrate the NFL's 104th year anniversary while supplies last. These are going fast, so get on down there. If you're an NFL fan of any particular team, those watches are beautiful. They got the team colors on the face of these Chronomat watches. They got the logos as well. Check out TampaBay.com. You can probably see the Bucks team watch on there while supplies last. It's Breitling Boutique, International Plaza Mall. Please, when you go, make sure you let them know you heard about it on Sports Day Tampa Bay. So the Rays played in the afternoon. It wasn't a great sports night for television, but I turned on the Gold Cup.
Yeah, the Cubs were beating the Cardinals, 11-0?
Yeah, it was just by the time I turned it on, it was over. So I turned on the soccer, or football as they call it in the rest of the world. And it was a Gold Cup final, United States against Mexico. And I had seen on the interweb, as the kids call it, that the U.S. was up 1-0. And when I turned it on, I saw the tying goal by Mexico. And the U.S. winds up losing 2-1. It's the second straight, I guess, Gold Cup victory for Mexico. I am not here to slam the great country of Mexico, our southern neighbors there, at all, because they play good soccer and they certainly earned this game. They dominated in time of possession and all those things that people think are important in soccer, as well as they outscored them 2-1, and they also dominated time of possession. Pretty much dominated, I thought. I didn't think it was a great performance from the part that I saw from the U.S. But here's my question for you, Steve, and there's no way around this. And listen, full disclosure, my wife works in soccer. She works for the United Soccer League. Happy with that league. Very, very progressive league. Trying to compete with the MLS and others, and probably have more soccer teams in this country than any other soccer organization, right? When you get down to all the different levels that they have. Okay, that said, why isn't our national team, when I say our, I mean the United States, why isn't the United States national team capable, with all the soccer that's played here, and I think it's pretty much in every damn community in the U.S. now, and has been for years, why isn't the U.S. better at soccer internationally than they appear to be to me? I mean, what is it going to take? I mean, I've been hearing for years, just wait, U.S., they're going to catch up to the world, most popular sport in the United States, yada, yada, okay? And I know a hell of a lot of people that play competitive soccer, right? And that's their thing, and they're really into it. And I know there's good players here. Why can't we field, as a United States national team, with 350 million people, a soccer team that's dominant, not just, occasionally gets into a final of the Gold Cup?
So a couple things. One, in this Gold Cup final, Mexico absolutely dominated, deserved to win.
Yes.
Even though the U.S. had a chance, and they didn't give up the game-winning goal till late in the game. But several of the best U.S. players were not playing in this tournament. Pulisic, Reyna, there's a whole bunch of Sergio Dest. There's a whole bunch of them that weren't.
And why is that?
For various reasons. Some with injury, some tired after all their season in Europe. Okay. I think the new coach, Pochettino, wants to see how some of these younger guys do. I think part of it
so the event wasn't as important as what obviously the World Cup or something like that would be.
That's what's important. The whole goal is what you do next year in the World Cup. That's why the U.S. changed coaches last fall, I think it was.
Right.
It was all about the World Cup on the U.S. soil in 2026. This tournament would have been nice to win. It would have helped this team, the guys. But this is always about the World Cup next year at home, on home turf. You got to get out of the group stage, and you want to try to win some knockout games. And maybe have a chance to go win it, but ideally, you win a knockout game or two, it'll be a successful World Cup. I believe the U.S. it's not a problem of players playing. It's a problem of coaching at the young age, the development.
That's interesting.
You can have all these soccer leagues, but if you're not, and it's getting better, and my kids do play soccer. They just play rec soccer. They're not at the competitive travel.
Club level, yeah.
But at our fields, there are the competitive teams. And the development at younger ages is getting better. But it's not where it is in the rest of the world. And
so coaching is what you're saying.
Coaching and system, I think it's a lot of things. I mean, there's been travel baseball and Legion baseball that you've played for years in this country.
right.
that have been developing baseball players in that. And, we're pretty much us in Central America and Latin America is basically the only place in the world that plays baseball.
But a ton of club soccer for a while, right? Am I wrong about that?
Right. But you can have club soccer, but if you don't have the best coaches, you don't have the best and the resources, and it's all getting better in this country.
Yeah.
But, other countries, it is the number one sport. Period. There's very few countries soccer's not, or football.
There's nothing that competes with it.
Yeah.
They get the best athletes, the best whatever.
Here, what's going to get more money first? NFL, baseball, basketball. I mean, how many sports do we do and do well in this country? And look, the U.S. is a good team. They're not a great team. They're good. I think they can be better. And I think when you see guys like Christian Pulisic go to AC Milan and play extremely well, and they love him there. And you're starting to see more American guys go to top clubs in Europe and not just play, but be impactful. That's showing you how U.S. soccer is growing. But it's not.
But I've been hearing about it growing for so long. But I guess it can't match the 300 years of whatever of soccer abroad. Here's the other thing I wonder, and I know nothing about nothing, so understand this is why I'm asking. At the college level, and I'm not suggesting that college is necessarily like the way to go here, but in the other sports in the United States, it feeds into it. Mm-hmm. My understanding is that at the college level, they recruit a ton of players from all over the world, and that makes sense to me, right? Mm-hmm. From South America, from Mexico, from Europe, from wherever, right? That there would be a ton of players come in here. College programs are paid to win, not develop. I get it. I get all of that. But is that,
I'm sure that impacts it.
Is that impacting it? Because you talked about developing players, but if some of those spots, like I know, and I won't name names here, but I know two really good soccer players that decided when they got into college to drop soccer and kick footballs for a living. Mm-hmm. And in part because they knew what the landscape looked like at the college level, that they would have a professional career.
Yeah, I've heard those complaints too, that there's not enough spots for American kids. You can argue that the American kids aren't good enough.
That's probably true. I mean, they wouldn't be recruiting abroad if they could find the players here.
Yeah, if a college coach could find players here that are just as good as the ones abroad, he's going to do the ones here.
Absolutely, I would think. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know when it comes to soccer, but somebody is welcome to educate me if you want to send us a text message or something at SportsDayTB or at NFL Stroud. My email address rstroud@tampabay.com. I've just been hearing this for so long, and every year or every 4 years or whenever the World Cup or this Gold Cup rolls around, the U.S. may make the final of a Gold Cup, or they may, last through a couple rounds of the World Cup, but there never seems to be this, every year it's like, they're getting better.
Well, I think you have to separate too, like in CONCACAF, which is North America, basically.
Yeah.
The U.S. is one of the best 2 or 3 teams, no question. Like Mexico, U.S. are generally the top 2. Canada has some good teams. Costa Rica will have a good team here and there. But the U.S. and Mexico generally are the best 2 teams in CONCACAF.
And therefore they played a lot of finals,
And they meet in the Gold Cup final. They meet in others, I mean, that's Olympic qualifying, all this stuff. Although Olympic qualifying is under 23 so that's different than the regular. But when you put the U.S. and Mexico against Spain, against England, against Brazil, Argentina, Germany, they're not as good. Neither team is.
Right.
They're getting better, but they're not there yet. And whether it's, I've always said there's issues at the coaching and resources at the younger level. That's getting better in this country. And, and it's been a big area of emphasis for U.S. soccer for a decade plus now, if not a generation. And they're still trying to grow it, but it takes time. You can't just go, okay, now we're going to put all these resources and expect you have all these coaches all over the country that are capable of teaching kids. it takes time to educate in that. So that's
Yeah.
what I've always heard from those in soccer.
Yeah.
But it is getting better. But it's not like in one generation you can go from where the U.S. is to all of a sudden now you're beating Argentina every.
But that's the thing. I've lived through several generations of this. Like they were talking about this when I was a kid, which is many years ago. So it sounds like the same thing all over again. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know. I don't have any way to measure the improvement. I do know there's far more professional soccer leagues, minor league soccer leagues, club leagues. I mean, there's just an enormous amount of places. If you want to play, there's a place for you to play, right? And so that alone should spawn something. And then you have the interest in the MLS and the USL and different teams around the United States.
And those are growing, which is good for soccer. It's good for growth. It's good for development. It's good.
Right.
Like, there's more eyes, there's more
and people can
money.
Stay here in the United States instead of having to choose to go to Europe or someplace to play.
You can, although if you want to play the best competition and really become the best.
Sure.
The best competition is not here in the U.S. at MLS.
Right.
MLS is good soccer. It's not great.
Right.
It's entertaining. I enjoy watching it. I watch it regularly.
Yeah.
I mean, you go watch a Premier League game, you're like, wow.
Right. Well, I think most people that have a chance to play in the Premier League would probably choose that for a number of reasons, but at least there's professional soccer in the United States, and it's I guess regarded Division I and that sort of thing. But yeah, so I mean, it's definitely grown, and it's grown exponentially, through the years since I've been alive. But I still I flip on this game and I just go, yeah, I just don't,
The U.S. got the set piece early, took the lead, but I mean, Mexico dominated possession. I would have liked to have seen a more full U.S. squad. Like if you had Pulisic and Reyna and Dest and some of the other ones that were missing. There's some nice stories on this U.S. team, but a lot of these guys aren't going to be playing in the World Cup next year.
Yeah.
It's those guys are going to be back and playing instead. And those are our best players. And had they been in the game tonight, it may have been a little different. Definitely, I think the U.S. could have controlled more possession. Like they just could not possess the ball. And every time they got the ball, they would turn it right back over. Like it was.
Yeah, it was almost like 65-35.
Oh,
type
yeah. It felt possession. More than that, to be honest.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, you've answered my question. I'm not sure when I watch these things. And I'm not wrapping myself in a flag here. I'm just saying, I've been hearing this for so long. I don't understand why a country that has got that many players, and there are a lot of people playing soccer these days in the United States in a lot of leagues. But just hadn't translated on up to the international level as far as competition goes, which you said it. I mean, if LeBron James was a goalie, his whole life, who knows, right? A lot of our best athletes are doing other things, and that's got to be a factor too. So, all right. Well, make sure you guys get on down to Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Check out the NFL watches, all 32 team watches while supplies last. They get watches for your wife or your girlfriend, and they have the best customer service you're going to find. It's Breitling Boutique International Plaza Mall. Make sure you tell them that Rick and Steve sent you from Sports Day Tampa Bay. Get your mailbag questions in anytime. As I said, you can send those to us on Twitter or X at NFL Stroud, at Sports Day TB, or my email address is rstroud@tampabay.com. We're not that far away from Bucs opening training camp. We are into the July. This is incredible. My vacation, what remains of it, is coming to an end, but we will be talking a lot of football here in the coming weeks for sure. So thanks for listening as always. For Steve Versnick, I'm Rick Stroud, Tampa Bay Times. Have a great day, everybody.